Welcome back to the Samantha Show. I'm your host, Samantha. You can call me Sam. Just don't call me Sammy. And I am just a couple days out from the Mrs. Ohio America pageant. I have been working towards this pageant really for the last, I think like officially 6 months, but when I first learned about pageantry for Mrs. was a couple years ago. This was kind of always the goal and like my site, like where I wanted to go and the pageant that I wanted to compete in. So it feels so good that it's like almost here. And I can't wait. I got, there's so many bags, so many hangers, so many things you got to take to the pageant. The lugging things around it's real. Like there's a lot to lug around, but cannot wait. Very, very excited to get into this weekend when I'm going to actually wait. I'm not going to record next week's episode until after the pageant so I can do a recap, share it one way or another, how the weekend went. So it'll be like a last minute episode there. Hey, you know what I thought I would talk about today? This pageant journey has forced me through different ways to really dive deep into my why of everything. Like, not just why are you competing in the pageant? Why does this matter? It's just like given me a lot of moments in time to just dive deep internally, find out who I am, what makes me tick, what makes me, what drives me. And through this process and journey, I've learned just so much about myself. I've been able to really put together my story, which when you really deeply know your story, it adds a lot of that purpose and passion in life that we often look for. And to understand your own personal story and to understand why certain things are important to you or why you like or dislike certain things, you have to like go to the beginning and you have to really look at how your journey has unfolded and where you are today, where you've been. And, when you know that, then it just adds more clarity and where you can go from here and things like that. So my big mission and purpose within the last couple years of my life has been inspiring other people to find their confidence and to really feel good about what they can bring to the world, who they are and what they can offer. And so that feels like deeply rooted in me that like that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to uplift, inspire, and motivate the people that I come in contact with. And I say those three words all the time: inspire, uplift, motivate. Boom, 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 boom. It just like rolls off my tongue. And so I've been talking to people and saying, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is the impact I want to have, like through being a fitness coach, through doing confidence coaching, through pageantry, like all these different things. And somebody finally like sat me down. They're like, well, why? I'm like, well, why wouldn't I want to like uplift and inspire people? They're like, no, why? And I was like, well, like, I feel like I've achieved my goals. Like I've found confidence. And they're like, why? How, what, why? Like, so the person I was sitting with is like, I don't feel that motivation to like do this for other people. So why is it important to you? What does that, why? And so I sat there and I was like, well, I just feel like it's always kind of been there. And she was like, no, there's a reason. Like something must have happened. There was an experience that you had that led you to feel like this is like deeply what you're supposed to do. And she was like, you talk about this cycle bar audition, which you didn't pass. And then you did pass and you worked your way up. She's like, it's very important to you because you mention it all the time. You talk about it all the time. And I do, I was like, yeah, I do. I talk about it on social media. I bring it up annually every time I get to that point. And I was like, why is that? Why was that so important to me? Because look, I now watch auditions for cycle bar instructors all over the country all day long. That's what I do all week is I watch auditions. I pass people, don't pass people, like we do it as a team and stuff like that. But that not passing that audition, but then coming back and passing it was big for me. Like it did. Like that was such a significant moment in my life. And then to work my way up, I have a whole podcast episode about that journey. And it's my favorite quote. It's on the wall behind me. It's at the top. You can't see it in the video, but if you quit when you're told no, it was never your dream to begin with. So yeah, that cycle bar journey is really, really important to me. And somebody's like, why? And I think forever I was just kind of like, well, because I didn't pass. And then I worked my way up to be a senior master instructor. And, she's like, that's cool. But like that wouldn't mean the same thing to somebody else necessarily. So I was like, damn, okay. I see what you're getting at here. Let me think about this. And it took me back to high school. Okay. So listen, I'm going to take you guys back to high school and I'm going to explain to you my journey of low self-esteem, very little confidence to where I'm at today, the most confident I've ever been in my entire life. And I'll summarize it because that's a lot of years in there. But some of the very important moments in that journey. So growing up, I was very active in cheerleading. Cheerleading was my it. It was my life. I loved cheerleading, all right? And I did it through school forever, through elementary, middle school, high school. And then I also did competitive cheerleading. So I was like on a quote unquote all-star team back in the day. I don't even know if that's what they still call it, but I was on a competitive team, like a club team, at a gym as well. And so cheerleading was my life. When I reached my senior year of high school, I started to gain weight. And, I had just gotten around that time, I got my first insulin pump living with type 1 diabetes, which is fantastic. Changed the game with technology with type 1 diabetes. But I think there was a combination of things happening. I had the insulin pump, which opened up the door for freedom to eat whenever I wanted. I had gotten a driver's license, so we're driving around, we're going out to eat. You're like finding your independence around that age and that time. And, I just through life, hormones, all these things, I started to pack on some pounds in high school. And, this happens to kids. And let me say, this is not like a story to say, oh, my story is worse than anybody else's. This is just my personal story of this experience and this journey for me. So my senior year of high school, I really started to gain some weight, but I was also what I felt like really in the public eye as a cheerleader at my school, and a good cheerleader. I have no problem saying probably one of the best at that time at my school. I could tumble, I could jump, I was strong in that way, but I also started to gain weight really fast and started to become the biggest cheerleader on the team as well. It was like every single year, like headed in like sophomore, junior, senior, we're like sizing up in skirt. And you notice this, right? Like I could see it. Like I felt it. I was self-conscious about it. But there was another layer of it. And it's that kids in high school are assholes. I'll just say it. They're mean. Kids are mean. So, I'm not going to say that I got bullied worse than anybody else. I think everybody struggles in high school. I think kids are mean. There are some really nice kids too, but I think that there were a couple moments that to this day live in my mind. And they don't have power over me anymore, I don't think, but impacted me significantly. Okay, so the first incident was I was in a classroom one time, junior, senior year, I can't remember, and someone kind of slid a note across my desk and said, hey, I found this on the floor. I don't know if somebody found it on the floor or they made it themselves. I really don't know. And I opened it up, and it was a picture of a whale, and it was like, oh, look, it's Samu, and it was undoubtedly supposed to be for me. It ended up in my hands. It had my name on it. And they were calling me Samu. And the person who gave it to me was like, oh my God, I can't believe I found this. But they were like, giggling too. So I think that maybe it was intentional. Man, that hurt. That hurt really bad. That stuck with me. There was one time I was hanging out with my friends. And we were looking through yearbooks. I was looking through one of their yearbooks, came to my picture in the yearbook, and they had drawn donuts by my face and said, this is how I get pumped up to cheer on a Friday night football game. It hurts. Like there was no secret that I was gaining weight and like people were noticing. I remember somebody telling me once like, oh damn, you'd be so hot if you lost weight, shit like that. But that sticks with you. Like those 2 years, those are impressionable years, right? Like you're a junior, senior in high school. I was in the public eye, I was in cheerleading. Look, I had a ton of friends. So I don't want this to sound like I didn't have a great high school experience. I had a great high school experience. I had a great time in high school. I got voted best personality. Thank you. very much for my senior superlative. Best personality. I'll take that to the grave with me. Such a great compliment. But there were some really hurtful moments in too. And I think this happens to a lot of kids. And that time like really, really shapes us at that time. And so, right after high school, I wanted to cheer in college. Like that was always the dream. I was going to go to the University of Cincinnati. I wanted to be a Bearcat cheerleader. Like that was my goal, my dream. Prior to going to Cincinnati, over the summer, I had the opportunity to try out for cheerleaders go around. They teach summer camps. And I wanted to do that really, really bad. And so I remember going to the tryouts, being probably the biggest girl at the tryouts, tumbled my face off, did a layout, did some, if you guys don't know, layouts like a backflip where your body's flat in the air, jump, man, my jumps, they were gorgeous. But also I wasn't the size to be a top girl, and it was mostly the men. And then you had the females were flyers most of the time. Then I think that's changed, right? Like we're talking late 90s, early 2000s. So much has changed in the fitness like realm when it comes to like body type and size and stereotypes and all this stuff like that. But definitely at that time, most of the time, if you were trying out for like a organization, your females were flyers and they were small and they could go up in the air. I wasn't going up in the air. Okay. Like I got that. I could hold somebody up. Like gladly. I did that when I was in like my competitive cheerleading. I was a base, a secondary, a back, and I could do that. So, but that wasn't what they were looking for. And, I didn't make the team, and I was kind of shocked because I felt like the skill set, the personality, the energy, the facials, the jumps, the tumbling, like it was all there. And I saw other people make the team with less skills than I had that were smaller than me. And that was a big indicator to me that my appearance wasn't what they were looking for. So it didn't matter what I was bringing to the table from a talent standpoint. I didn't have the look. So not long after those cheerleading trials, it was time to start practicing for the University of Cincinnati's cheerleading team. And so I was going down there. I think it was like the clinics were, 2-3 days a week, maybe a couple weeks, something like that, just to kind of practice to try some different things. You know what I think they did? I think those guys actually put me up in the air, right? And then we like got the bigger leagues, right? These guys could lift me up. Probably wasn't easy for them, but they did it. But, the intention too, and the cool thing with the University of Cincinnati cheerleading was they had co-ed team and then they had all girls team. And on the all girls team, they needed girls who could be bases. So like that was great for me, right? I was like, okay, I can tumble, I can jump, I can be a base. This all makes sense. So I was like really looking forward to UC tryouts, and I was driving down there to these clinics, and it came to the day of tryouts, and even throughout the process, I still felt like I was on the bigger end, one of the bigger girls there. And that I think the previous couple of years of what I had kind of dealt with mentally, and I gave you guys like the Cliff Note version. There were so many instances, some that I had one situation that was just so vulgar that somebody said to me related to my weight and some other stuff that like I can't even put it on this podcast. So anyway, I get there to UC tryouts. It's the day of tryouts. I am on deck to try out, right? I'm literally watching the girl in front of me in line do her tryout, and I left. I walked out on that dream because I was too worried about not looking the part, about being judged by my weight, about being so insecure and self-conscious about what I looked like in a cheerleading uniform that I walked away from that dream. Somebody asked me, they said, what did you do when you walked out? Where did you go? What happened next? And I was like, I drove to see my parents. I cried the whole way. And I said, I'm done with cheerleading. I think at that time, it was a combination of feeling like having the eyes on you at all time, judging. I think there's for sure late 90s, early 2000s. And and still today, this expectation of a look related to cheerleading. People can say there's not. They can say there's not. But anyway, I was done. I was done with cheerleading. I had burnt myself out. I didn't want to do it anymore. I was so sick of feeling like I needed to like I didn't look the part and like just all this pressure. And I was like, I'm done. This is it. And so I went on. I still went to the University of Cincinnati. I went there my freshman year of college before I followed a boy up to Wright State University. Womp womp. Stupid. Anyway, but that was it. And then, eventually I got into, coaching, doing choreography and stuff like that for some local schools. But that was where the cheerleading dream ended. And I didn't have the confidence to step out onto that floor. And I regretted that. Every time I would go to a Bearcat football game and I saw the girls on the field, I wondered if it could have been me, if that would have been me. Every single game, I thought it. Every single game, I watched them, and it's not a good feeling knowing that you didn't even try. Okay. I'm going to fast forward 2017. So if that would have been 2005, so just you could put life in there, right? Like went through college, graduated college, moved to Florida. And throughout that time, like my body changed a little bit. I lost weight. I actually was like, people say you go to college and you like get the freshman 15, you gain weight. I actually lost weight when I got to college, probably walking all over campus and things like that. But my body started to change, started to feel a little bit better about myself. 2010, started to get into group fitness. I've kind of shared that on previous episodes. Down in Florida, this is like something to do, some exercise. Exercise is good. Group fitness is coming up, all this stuff, right? Fast forward to 2017. I had been doing group fitness classes for a long while. Then at that point in time, specifically like cycling, I've shared this story. But the auditions came around to audition for Cycle Bar. And when Cycle Bar first came up, when I first encountered the owners of the Cycle Bar near me, Cycle Bar Austin Landing, I met them at an Americana festival, and I asked if they needed a studio manager. That's what it was looking at. I had no intention of being an instructor. They said, we don't need a studio manager, but if you are interested in auditioning to be an instructor, we would love to have you audition to be an instructor. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know that I want to be required to work out so many days a week and all these things. But they really sold me on it. And so I was like, okay, I'll try this. And leading into this audition, I had a lot of the same thoughts, anxiety going through my head from 10 plus years earlier. I don't look like a fitness instructor. I don't have the body of a fitness instructor. They're going to judge my body in this audition. That's what was going through my head. Regardless of can I ride to the beat? What's my form look like? Like all this. Does she have a good personality? I was so worried about my body because that had been haunting me for so many years. And so I auditioned and didn't pass. Shared that. And for good reason, because I've watched that audition. Your girl in on the beat. Her form's atrocious. She had a good personality. But I remember getting the feedback and reading it, right? And there are positive things on here. Personality is amazing. Thank you. I got best personality as that senior superlative. That's consistent. That's followed me around as well. But great personality, can't ride to the beat. Forms all over the place. Worried about her endurance. Okay. Now listen, as somebody who watches auditions, talking about endurance is something I do all the time. Because endurance is a thing. And if you're going to be a fitness instructor, you have to have the stamina to be able to speak and exercise at the same time or work a room. You do have to have endurance to be able to do that. What I read, the form, the audition form said, worried about endurance, which is a legitimate concern, right? And I was worried. I probably should have been worried about my endurance at that point too. What I read was, she's fat. That's what I read. Because that's just how messed up my mind was when it came to how I felt in my own skin. All the comments on it, she can't ride to the beat, didn't care about that. That's fine. Yeah, okay, sure, that's fine. I probably can't. All that. All I read was she's fat. That's not even what it said. It said worried about her endurance. That's not what I read. So it crushed me when I got that, because I had kind of made up a different story in my mind as to why I didn't get that audition or pass it. And I was just back in this place of low self-esteem and lacking that confidence. And my dad, and I've shared this on the If You Quit When You're Told No podcast episode. I'm going to share it again because it was important to me. So my dad told me about, because I still call my mom and dad. So, I ran to my mom and dad after I walked out of cheerleading tryouts, called my mom and dad after I got my non-passing result with Cycle Bar. And I was like, yada, yada, I don't know, just very upset. And, my dad had shared the story of Lindsey Sterling. Lindsey Sterling was on Britain's Got Talent, and she tried out, and the judges were like, you can't do this. You're never going to make it doing this. Well, Lindsey Sterling is now wildly famous. She sells out arenas. I've seen her in an arena, and she made it happen for herself. So my dad kind of relayed the message. You get to decide who stops you from achieving your dreams. And that was it for me. That made a huge impact on me. That was a moment I was like, okay, Samantha, it's time for you to decide what you do with your life. You decide what your body is capable of, and you decide how you can use it, how strong it is, all the great things that it can do. And that is that moment where I decided to take the power back and make my dreams happen. So when I went back and I auditioned again and I passed, boost of confidence. That's what it feels like to start to feel your confidence grow. But it had to be initiated by my own decision to take the power back, to stop living in this place of letting other people decide what I can and cannot do. And here's the thing. Most of the time when I reflect back, it was my own image. It was the way I was viewing myself. It was the things that I was saying to myself that was stopping me. It wasn't even when I say that, when the form said worried about her endurance, I talk about candidates' endurance issues all the time because it's a real thing. That doesn't mean somebody's not doesn't have a specific body type or anything. It's just somebody's stamina and ability to speak and work out at the same time. Endurance is a thing. I read it. You are fat. That is not what the paper said. That was what I was dealing with internally, and it was time to take the power back. I was trying to flip the narrative in my head, the lies that I was telling myself. It was time to let go. We tell ourselves lies all the time. I heard about a drill that you can try, that you can do. Okay, listen here. Pick a focus in your life. So let's say your career. Okay. And you get a piece of paper, you get a pencil, and you get a pen. You sit down with a piece of paper, maybe a couple pieces of paper. You might need a couple pieces of paper. And you write down a lie that you tell yourself. I will never get promoted at work. That would be a lie, right? So you write that down in pencil. You skip 4 lines. You write down another lie. My boss doesn't even notice how hard I'm working. Okay, that's a lie. Skip 4 lines. Whatever that is. Stick to one realm of your life though. And then underneath that lie, you write the best possible truth. Okay, so if you say, oh, okay, so if you wrote in pencil, I'll never get promoted at work, then underneath that, in pen, 4 times you write the opposite. I will get promoted at my job. Okay, you write that 4 times in pen. And you do that for each lie. You write the truth, you write the best possible outcome, you write the opposite in pen 4 times underneath the time in pencil. And then for 7 days, you read the lie, followed by the 4 truths, the 4 best case scenario, the 4 opposites underneath it. You read that for 7 days. And on the 7th day, you erase the lie. And you teach your brain that any time this doubt, this lie, these insecurities start to come up into your brain, you switch to that other truth, that better outcome, that opposite thinking. And you could do this as much as you need to. But the truth is that we have to retrain our brain to really believe that we're capable and what we want to do and our We can make our dreams and a reality. The possibilities are endless when we have the confidence to step into that. But the only way you get to that place of confidence is to go outside your comfort zone. You have to push yourself outside of that comfort zone. You have to face those fears. You have to face those insecurities to find out truly how strong and capable and possible it can all be for you. I've been there. Because I'm going to tell you, as somebody who walked out of cheerleading tryouts, but then came back 10 years later, auditioned, and faced the worst case scenario, which was the non-passing audition for me, but then used that as fuel to go again and climb to the very top of the instructor totem pole within this industry. That'll do something to your confidence. Because you took the power back. I took the power back. And now I want to give that power to other people. But you have to decide that you're willing to step outside that comfort zone. You have to decide that you're okay with failing. You have to understand that failure propels us. We learn from it. We grow from it. We are going to fail. I'm going to fail. Again and again and again, but I'm going to grow and I'm going to learn. And it's definitely not going to stop me from going after my goals and my dreams. I have been insecure. I have been self-conscious. I have had low self-esteem. I've had hurtful things said to me. I have let those hurtful things haunt me for way too freaking long, and I don't let it haunt me anymore. I put on my swimsuit for the pageant for the first time like 2 weeks ago. As soon as I put it on, those lies came into my head. I was in a bathroom trying it on, and a former title holder was outside the bathroom door, and she was like, let me see it, let me see it. And I didn't even want to open the door. How am I supposed to walk out on a stage in 3 weeks in this? I can't even open this bathroom door right now and show her. But I took a deep breath, and I reminded myself that I hold the power. I hold the power in my mind. I choose how I see the reflection in the mirror. I choose whether I want to focus on every little dimple on my ass or if I want to see the beautiful, strong, capable, confident, badass woman looking back at me. I'm choosing the latter because she's my favorite version of myself. And that's the story. That's why it means so much to me. That's why I love being a fitness instructor, because I love to empower people to find out what they're made of, what they can truly do with their body, how strong they are physically, mentally. That's why I want to get this confidence coaching business up and rolling, because I want to share my story and I want other women and other people to create their story and the way that they found their confidence, the way they took the power back, the way they shut down the lies. It's why I want to be Mrs. Ohio America. It's why I want to be Mrs. America. It's why I want to have this podcast. It's why I want to use social media. It's my story. And it feels so good to hold the power, to live in that place of confidence. Doesn't mean we don't get uncomfortable. It doesn't mean the lies don't reappear from time to time. But as you make strides, as you start to push outside that comfort zone, as you propel and move forward, it gets stronger and it gets stronger and it gets stronger. And then all of a sudden, you're living in this place of confidence that you didn't even realize was possible. It takes time. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of conversations with yourself, but you can get there. I have been there. I have gone through it. I have said some terrible things to myself, but I don't talk to myself like that anymore. And if I hear that voice in my head, I shut it down as quickly as I can. I use journaling. I write. I go to therapy proudly every 2 weeks. Got a little heavy there, a little intense, but I want to make sure that I always keep it real. And it's been fun, like I said, just to kind of reflect on my own journey and just to kind of figure out how I got here today. I hear a lot of people, you're so confident. You're so confident. I'm like, me? I don't know. And then I'm like, wow, this is my journey. This is how I got to where I am. I get that the story makes sense to me now. And I was forced to kind of sit down and reflect on it. So with that said, just a couple days, and you guys know I'll keep you posted on social media. I'll just take you on this journey with me one way or another. I have absolutely loved this pageant experience, and so proud of myself for going outside that comfort zone, because on the other side of this, that confidence level, we go up, right? Title or no title, the confidence level goes up once you do things like this. That's what you got to do. You got to do things like this. You got to go outside that comfort zone. So you win. We all win. Everybody who steps onto that stage wins, because that takes a lot of guts to get out there and do that. So it's such a great thing. But I will keep you guys posted. Thanks for always following around. If you wouldn't mind, if you know somebody who'd benefit from this story, I hope you like it, share it, all of the above. Send it to somebody who needs it. And as always, have a great day, because you deserve it.